We're with Johnny Atherton. He is the Vice President of Public Relations and Corporate Services for Mississippi Power, and we are at the Kemper County Energy Facility. Thank you very much for being on At Issue.
Well, thank you for having me.
This is a remarkable project. Tell us about it.
It is a tremendously remarkable project, and I could speak all day to you about this, Mark. Let me just highlight a few things that I think we're particularly proud of here at the Kemper County Energy Facility. Mississippi Power, first and foremost, had a need that was identified about 6-7 years ago. We took a proposal to the Public Service Commission. They agreed with us that we had a need. And this project is allowing us to introduce a third fuel source for the benefit of providing energy resources to our customers. That's something that we're very proud of. Quite frankly, we're catching the eye of a lot of folks around the world. We've had a number of folks who have toured this facility, and they're interested in various aspects. They're interested in how we're gasifying lignite coal. They're interested in how we're capturing carbon. And then certainly they're also interested in how that carbon might be used for enhanced oil recovery. We're also very proud of the economic impact that we've had over the state over the last few years. Certainly we're building this project for the benefit of our customers, but the time at which we've been building it has been a pretty troubled time in our country. And so there have been a lot of people who've gone to work here. At our peak during construction, we created about 6,500 construction jobs. 560 companies have participated in this project. And so it has provided resources to them at an otherwise pretty difficult time. So there are a lot of aspects of this project that we're very, very proud of, and we appreciate you being here to help us tell that story.
From all of the reading and research that I've done, the crown jewel of this project is what's known as clean coal technology.
Right.
Tell us how promising that is.
Well, first of all, I think you need to recognize, and others need to recognize, that coal is the world's most abundant fuel source. And given the impact that utilizing coal has on the environment, we've got to learn how to utilize coal in a much more environmentally sensitive and responsible way going forward. Quite frankly, it's the technology that we're utilizing here that has grabbed the interest of a number of folks around the world, not only just here in the U.S., but around the globe.
As you said, the Mississippi Public Service Commission approved the Kemper plant facility in 2010. It's had some bumps in the road, as has already been acknowledged. It was originally proposed as a plant that would cost about $2 billion plus. Now we're running in the range of more than $6 billion, maybe closer to $7 billion. Can you tell us why the project is over budget and also behind schedule?
Let me first start by answering your question this way, and this is something that many of your viewers might not understand. This is the most scrutinized project ever in the history of the Public Service Commission here in Mississippi. I think principally because its cost, it needed to stand that scrutiny. We went through an 18-month process with the Mississippi Public Service Commission, where first we had to prove that we had a need. And as you know from the discussions we've had earlier, we had an aging fleet that quite frankly was also being more challenged with emerging environmental regulations. They agreed unanimously that we had a need, and then they agreed with us when compared to other resources that this was the right facility to meet that need. When we take projects to the Mississippi Public Service Commission for their approval, and we couldn't begin to build this project without the Mississippi Public Service Commission's approval, we do some front-end engineering and design. But on all mega projects, and certainly on all the projects that we undertake, those are sort of design-build kind of projects. The difference between other projects that we do, whether they be transmission lines or substations or natural gas-fired facilities that we built before, the difference in those projects and this is this was first of a kind, where we're taking different technologies and integrating them to produce electric energy for our customers. And I would tell you that if we made any errors in judgment at all, any missteps, is that when we took that proposal to the commission, we were only at between 10 or 15% of design. And so I think it's the little engineering that we had done at that particular point in time that has sort of come back to haunt us a little bit in terms of cost and schedule. So if there was anything that we could point our finger to in terms of missteps, is that we didn't have this plant fully designed or more robustly designed on the front end that would have probably led to better information in terms of schedule and cost.
Then why was there such a rush, do you think?
Well, number one, our customers had a need. In the middle teens, in the 13 to 15 timeframe, they had a need for additional electric energy. And so I would say that we were rushing to make sure that we had the resources to meet our customers' needs when they demanded it. It quite frankly took other kind of things, other forms of electric generation off the table. I've been asked the question many times, why didn't you consider nuclear? Which quite frankly, from an environmental footprint perspective, is something that we need to consider more of. But we couldn't consider nuclear because, quite frankly, the smallest generating plant we would build would be more than our customers actually needed at this particular point in time. The time frames at which you would have to get that facility permitted and constructed would not have matched up with that time frame of need. And then lastly, it would have just been much, much more expensive than what we're constructing here. And so our major driver was to meet our customers' needs in the time frame in which they needed additional energy.
Can you tell us at this point what the plant's operations and maintenance cost will be?
Talking about O&M?
Yes.
That's a little bit of a moving target. It's not my area of expertise. I could certainly get you our best estimates with regard to that. But they'll be fairly substantial, at least in the short term, as we get this plant optimized over a period of years.
I'd like to talk about Brett Wingo for a moment. He is a former project manager here at Kemper. He has made claims in the public and in the media that have been well documented. He claims the project has been mismanaged. I'd like to know what Mississippi Power's official position is on Brett Wingo and his statements.
Let me offer this perspective to you. Whenever any employee, Brett Wingo or others, bring an issue that concerns them to the table, that's something that we take very, very seriously. And with regard to Brett Wingo's claims, we investigated those internally through our concerns program. We felt that we really needed to do even more than that, so we brought in some third parties to investigate his allegations and claims. The Mississippi Public Utility staff investigated his claims and accusations as well. Many of the things that he claimed were well documented, we already knew of, and I think the thing that I would want to make sure that you're aware of is that none of his claims were substantiated. None of his claims were supported by facts. And so our official position on his claims is that they were not supported by facts and they were not substantiated. We did take his concerns very seriously on the front end, but quite frankly, we found no basis for his claim.
Then what do you think would be his motivation currently, since he has been able to, or since he has shared his story to so many people about what he saw was going on the inside?
Well, I would assume, Mark, that you're going to talk to Brett Wingo, and you should ask that question of him. Quite frankly, I don't know what his motivation is. I don't know Brett Wingo personally. I don't know what would motivate an employee to bring certain allegations forward, especially if they're not substantiated by fact.
The Public Service Commission approved a rate increase for the natural gas side, the costs associated with the natural gas side of the Kemper facility. Will Mississippi Power ask the PSC for another rate increase to cover the cost of the coal gasification part of the plant?
Yeah, let me expound on what the Public Service Commission actually did. You say the natural gas part of this facility. What the Public Service Commission enacted in terms of a rate increase back in December of last year had to do with the in-service assets. Let me explain what the in-service assets are. Our electric generating equipment that has been producing energy for the value of our customers for better than 2 years was an in-service asset. The transmission facilities that carry that energy back to our service territory, to our customers, was an in-service asset. The water pipeline that we use for cooling water that comes to us from the city of Meridian, those were all in-service assets. In their review, they found that our expenditures were prudent with regard to those assets. They found out that those assets were used and useful, and by virtue of those findings, they allowed us to recover the cost and get a return of those costs from ratepayers or from customers. So that's what they've approved, and we think they acted very, very prudently on their part to do that. When you ask about the balance of the plant, sort of the middle of the plant and the front end of the plant, where, quite frankly, that's where the proprietary technology is. That's where we're converting lignite into synthesis gas, which, by the way, we did within the last month or so. And the cleanup, the part of the plant that cleans that gas stream up so that we don't emit things into the atmosphere that we otherwise would. When we have those parts of this plant online and they operate for some period of time successfully, then I think the Commission would at some point receive a proposal from us of how we want to recover those costs associated with those facilities. I think it's safe to say that it'll be some period of time before they have that proposal before them. Won't probably be in 16, probably more like 17. But the Public Service Commission will address those issues if and when that time comes, which we expect it'll be in sometime in 17.
So the short answer is yes.
We will ask for full recovery of all of our prudently incurred costs that are deemed to be used and useful, yes.
Well, then that would lead me to the next question. Do you think the clean coal technology side of the plant, the costs associated with that, or the two other phases that you just referred to, those costs were prudent, and also the utility will be used and useful?
The Public Service Commission will have to make that determination, Mark. We will have to prove in our case before them that all of our actions and all of our expenditures were prudent. I'm not predisposed as to what the Commission may or may not decide with regard to all of that they will review. I'm not predisposed as to what they will determine is used and useful, but I do know this, that before rates are impacted, they will have to make both of those determinations. Now, we feel going in that our actions were prudent. They may disallow certain ones, but we will tell you going in, and we would tell the Commission that we believe our actions were prudent, they were in the best interest of customers, and that we hope that they would find that those assets that we've put on the ground, that we've constructed for our customers, will in fact be found used and useful. And they will have to make that determination before rates are impacted in any way.
You talked earlier about the plant producing its first syngas.
Right.
How exciting is that?
It was a tremendous milestone. You know, many of our opponents, folks who have been fighting us at every turn, quite frankly believed that we couldn't produce syngas from lignite coal. And we did that within the last month or so. We actually operated one of the trains, one of the gasifiers, for 500 hours, actually over 500 hours. We had a celebration here at the plant about a week ago. That's the first big major milestone that we have to come to as we near this plant fully going into service. The next milestone will be sending that syngas through the cleanup process, or the middle of the plant, where we will remove constituents that we would otherwise vent out a stack. Things like CO2, sulfuric acid, and ammonia. We'll capture those in the middle of the plant, and quite frankly, we have off-takers who will buy those compounds from us, which will serve to reduce the cost of the energy here at the facility. That'll be the second big milestone. And then the last milestone is sending that clean synthesis gas to the generators to produce electric energy. And we expect that all of that will take place between now and the end of October.
Are you confident that the end of October is going to be the date where the syngas actually runs the turbine, all of the I guess the other components that can be extracted can be put in another place, and that it is actually producing electricity?
Yes, I'm confident, because I'm confident in the people that we have working at this facility. I can tell you that the confidence I feel every time I come to the facility and talk to our employees is extremely high. The gasifier is working extremely well. Some of the issues that we're dealing with regard to the gasification have to do with coal in and ash out. Typical coal plant kind of issues, handling issues, if you will. But I can tell you their confidence is extremely high. I don't work at this facility daily, but the people that I talk to are extremely confident. And if they're confident, I'm confident.
And finally, there have been a lot of people out there that have thrown criticism at Mississippi Power for the way the plant has started, where it is now, and where it might be in the future. I'd like you to address some of those critics right now. What would you like to say about the plant and its benefits, and and to those specific people that have been very critical of the plant itself?
Well, as I told you when we were touring the facility earlier, Mark, when you build a base load power plant, which quite frankly we've not done in 30 years, they're always second guessed in the short term. It's easy to play Monday morning quarterback with regard to the investment decisions that we've made on behalf of our customers. I would tell you that if the same circumstances lined up today, we'd be doing the same thing that we're doing today. It's easy to say, well, would you have done this if you'd have known gas prices would have stayed below $5 per million? The answer to that is no, we wouldn't have been done that. Quite frankly, when we were before the commission, natural gas prices were 5 times what they are today. We know it's a volatile fuel. We're making a long-term investment decision for the benefit of our customers. We think it's the strategic right decision to not have all of our eggs in one basket. We're doing that here. Mississippi Power is keeping its commitment to the folks who we talked about, not only at the commission, but our customers, about the rate impacts and about what we would do with regard to this facility. I'm pleased to tell you that we're going to honor every commitment we made on the front end in terms of cost impacts to our customers. And I think 10, 15, 20 years down the road, like other facilities of this type that we've constructed ourselves and that other utilities have constructed, I think we're going to reflect back on it and say, you know, Mississippi Power made a wise decision. I wasn't on board at a particular point in time, but quite frankly, I'm glad they made this decision because I'm the benefactor of that wise decision that they made back in the 2009, 2010 timeframe.
Johnny, thank you very much for being on that issue, and good luck with the project.
Thank you very much, Mark. I appreciate you being here.